Thank you, DJ. Good morning. Welcome to worship today. My name is Tammy Branham. I'm the Director of Discipleship and Christian Education. You may remember me. I used to come to church here on Sunday. It's been a little bit. We've had lots of family things on the weekends with graduations and weddings, and they're on opposite ends of, well, Rapid City, Decorah, Minneapolis, Sioux City. So this was my first weekend not in a hotel in 4 weeks. So it's good to be back here with you and see your faces, those of you that I don't get to see during the week that stop in. We do have a few announcements I just want to run through with you quickly. A few updates to the prayer concerns. Prayers for Dev Pavelko's brother's family, and it's Denny, not Benny, that passed away. So just that correction, but keep Deb and her family in your prayers. And also we're praying for Jerry Olstrom, who broke his back and is recovering at home. They're home from the hospital, but they need prayers to Jerry and Arlene. So those updates to our prayer concerns, everything else is listed there, and we invite you to join us on Tuesdays for a time of prayer at noon here in the sanctuary. If that works in your schedule, it's a very meaningful time, and we can talk about these prayer requests a little bit more, and those prayers really mean something to these people. So thank you for coming to that. I want to say thank you to everyone that helped with a fantastic Vacation Bible School. We had a very busy week and a very active week with lots of kids, and it required lots of help, and we had lots of help. We are growing as far as little people, and so that is exciting news, and we are looking at ways to make that even bigger next year. So I just want to say, too, like, we had a couple grandmas that stuck around to help. And they just had a blast. I think they had as much fun as the kids. So age is not a limit on helping with this week and with these kids, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you to everyone, and I kind of listed some of those names when I sent out my email, but we are excited that our Vacation Bible School is such a successful event that we hold here and that we're rebuilding from that. And we had one of those days out at the camp, and I know that we're including the camp staff and all of the kids out there. This is their first full week, I believe, right? So make sure that you're praying for the camp, Lake Okoboji United Methodist Camp, and all of those counselors, and all of the kids that some of them might be away from home for the first time. But what an experience. I know that camp was one of my most important experiences growing up. Speaking of camp, we have 14 campers involved in our church going to the Lake Okoboji United Methodist Camp. And several years ago now, we made a promise that we would pay for our kids to go to camp. And we've been able to do that because of your generous support. The cost of camp for a week of camp is up $500 or even more in some cases now. So that's a lot different than it was when our kids went to camp, or when I went to camp. So we'd ask that you prayerfully consider giving. Right now we have a little bit in that fund, but we need about $4,000 more. So I'm just throwing that number out there. Some of you I know can give $25. Some of you I know probably can give $1,000, and anywhere in between. So whatever you are willing to give to help send these kids to camp is appreciated. So thank you for doing that in addition to your regular giving. I know that it's not always easy to do, but camping is important for our youth, and I know it's near and dear to some of your hearts as well. I'm going to be taking a little time when I'm done up here this morning to pass around some clipboards. They're pretty bare back there, so we need some scripture readers coming up, and we need some greeters, and we need some communion servers for the next few months. So I'm going to go ahead, because I know what happens is when I ask for you to do that, you say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and then you see the donuts and you totally forget to sign up. So I'm going to go ahead and pass those clipboards out during worship today so that you don't forget and you can get straight to the donuts afterwards. There's other things you can sign up for out there. We've got the cruise-in happening, and I know the missions team has requested donations for items for the cruise in. That sign-up sheet is out there. There's our Adopt-A-Day sheet that's hanging out there. If you want to sign up and help during fellowship time, that sign-up sheet is out there. I think the missions team has also asked for help with their garage sale, so there's ways to contact Jennifer Treidel-Oitzman if you want to help with that. So lots of ways that you can help out in the church, and if you have questions or whatever, please feel free to ask. If it's a missions-related thing, I might know the answer, but our missions team representatives can certainly help you with that. And we just appreciate all the help because these are important events for our community. That's all I have for announcements today. I'm going to now turn it over to Pastor Cindy. Her and her little team of annual conference attendees are going to give you a little update. So we will go with that next.
Yeah. So I am Pastor Cindy Finn, and if you're watching online, you know my name now. We did go to the Iowa Annual Conference last weekend, and I know Tara was here, and I got to listen to her online, and I thought she did a really nice job. So if Tara's watching, thank you. We had 2 representatives to the Iowa Annual Conference, and that's Colleen and Gary, and will you come? And we want to just give you a little short overview of some of the things that happened, some of the highlights that we thought. For you to use a microphone, that probably would be good. So for me, the conference was very uplifting. In the last 3 years, it's been a little bit tough. As you know, the United Methodist Church has gone through kind of a rough time, and that was disaffiliation. Some United Methodist churches were making different decisions, deciding not to be part of the United Methodist Conference. And we had many churches in Iowa that decided that they would move on and, like I said, make other decisions, some even really close to us in our area. And a lot of that some of the moves were perfect for that certain congregation. And some of them were really tough. You may have heard some things coming out of Spencer, the Spencer at Grace United Methodist Church, that was not very nice. And so we've been through kind of a rough time as United Methodists. But this year it was very, very uplifting, celebratory even. Some apologies made to different groups, and it was led by the General Conference that happened also last May. So I found it to be, like I said, very uplifting. It'll be interesting to hear what Gary and Colleen, what they thought. But I went to Des Moines. They now hold conference in what's called the Recplex, which is a hockey stadium. They dry the hockey stadium out, or hockey rink out, and we sit right on the hockey rink. They do have a full-size soccer field, so I snuck out a couple times and watched some soccer games because I've coached lots and lots of soccer. But it was nice to be with people. Now, I know Gary and Colleen signed in online because of COVID now we all do these hybrid things, you know. Some online and some in person. So I'll be interested to hear what Gary and Colleen have to say, and I hope you will be too. So do you want to offer what? They're just going to offer some of their highlights.
You want to go first or last?
I can go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the souvenirs we got was BUMC, and there was people even that had T-shirts with this. Oh, come closer to the mic.
Yes.
This was one of our souvenirs, BUMC, and Pastor brought that for me. And some people even had T-shirts. And I thought that was kind of good, too, because there were these churches that had left. And some of them maybe are still called a church, but they're not UMC anymore. I personally, Stan and I grew up in Archer, Iowa, and our church in Archer decided to leave. And I've been your delegate for the last 4 years. Ever since the pandemic, I've been doing this online. And I would always chat with my brother-in-law, who was the representative delegate from Archer. But this year, he wasn't there because their church had left, so that was kind of a disappointment. There were quite a few churches that disaffiliated, 84 in 2003 and 59 more this year. And we were even had a print-off of who left. And a lot of them I noticed just closed and sold and transferred their membership to another church. So I'm kind of interested, maybe Pastor knows this, how many people we actually lost. I think Gary's going to talk more about the budget, but I was impressed that the budget is pretty good. And they actually expected more churches to leave than did. And so they have been able to balance their budget pretty good. So, I am Colleen Lemkule, and I am 81 years old, and I've been a member of the Spirit Lake Methodist Church for 22 years. And maybe you haven't seen me a lot because I watch church online. I am sick a lot, and I've even been sick this week, but I am here to share. And before moving here, I lived in Indianola, Iowa, where there is one of the largest Methodist churches in Iowa, and I was very active there. I found out that Pastor Cindy, when she was young, went to the Indianola Methodist Church and sang in the choir. And she would have sang with our children, John and Mary Lemkule. I am glad we have the online ministry. During the pandemic, we could attend the Iowa conference online. One of the reasons I became your delegate is I was a very good friend of June Goldman. You all remember June? And June did this till she was in her 90s. And when she died, I thought, what could I do? I could do this. And I'm on the computer a lot. I even followed the conference in North Carolina. And I was amazed that there was people from Russia there. I thought, can Russians even get into this country now? And we did find out that the Russian Methodists have become private. They're still going to be Methodist churches, but they became private. So, I like to see the people in the church, and I used to always see my old minister from Indianola because he was one of the staff people, but he no longer has, he's retired. And another minister who was the lawyer was there. I used to work in Des Moines as a public health nurse, and last year there was a presentation from Drake University chaplain from the Methodist Church. And he was retiring, and they needed to make budget cuts. So that house was sold, and that ministry had been terminated. I had worked with that center. This year, the college report was pretty just okay. All the woman said was that we continue service at Simpson College in Indianola, where I used to live and be involved, and within Morningside College, where my husband Stan and I attended and still remain involved. And then there is Creighton. We also have ministries at Iowa State at Ames, where our daughter graduated from, and we would go there with her to the Collegiate Methodist Church at the University of Iowa in Iowa City, where our son graduated from. We would go visit that church and ministry in Iowa City. We had a young man recently who was a food scientist at our home. He was a friend of our grandson, John Rio Lemkule. His name is Keldon Cook of Colorado. He was very involved with the Methodist house at Purdue University. He had spent a summer at the Methodist African University. This school is a lot like Iowa State University in Iowa, working with improving farm crops in Africa. Stan and I have been to Africa, but we did not get to visit this university. But I have been connected with it, and because of my interest in Keldon, Rio's friend, I've followed them. The conference is asking for less money. They've reduced their budget. But then I was online, and they did ask that each Iowa church give $60 to the university for scholarships. And I myself will donate that money for our church today because I think it's important. We also have ministry at Northern University. So if you have kids or grandkids going there, I say get involved. I also saw they talked a little bit about Lake Okoboji, but it is the only camp we have anymore in
Wesley Woods.
what?
We have 2 camps.
We have 2 camps and Lake West and Wesley Woods. Wesley Woods at Indianola, and we have a wonderful camp. They also listed a place called Matthew 25 in Cedar Rapids. And we have a relative who volunteered there, and when he died, his memorial went there, and I gave money. So now I get a request from them for money every year, and I continue to support this mission in Cedar Rapids. I have their newsletter with me if you'd like to see it. I love the music from the conference, and I could hear it well on the computer. I'm very hard of hearing, but could hear online very good. I loved the choir from Roosevelt High School in Des Moines. They said the music teacher is a graduate of Simpson College in Indianola and had put together the choir of around 8 girls and 5 boys to sing many songs to us, and they even had a drummer. The theme was inspired, and yes, I've listened before, and this year there was no controversy. Everything was happening. The opening remarks by Bishop Kenitha, how do you say her name?
Kenitha Bingham Sai.
Kenitha Bingham Tai was outstanding. She always smiles, dresses colorful, and has energy. Hope was one of the things, and I hope maybe sometime she could come to preach here, or we could put her online. On Friday night, there was a really great speaker. I even liked him so much I emailed him, and his name was Reverend McBroom. And he talked about, I wish he could come and speak here, but maybe we can watch his things. He talked about the difference between Christian nationalism, which is happening in our country right now, and the views of the Methodist Church. He ended it by saying that when Jesus on Palm Sunday rode into Jerusalem, he came with a borrowed donkey and hallelujahs and palm leaves. He did not come like a king, and he did not come like with guns or white stallions. And he said Christian nationality has a long, storied history, but so does resistance and a true, faithful, Christ-centered witness. He says Methodists are true Christians, and we do not agree with many of the nationalism things that are happening in the world right now. And I do have I ran off all his slides, and I'll give them to you. Thank you. It was interesting, and yes, we voted for a new treasurer. And one of the new people we voted for was a new statistician, and a lady I knew, Judy Calhoun. I've met her when I worked with United Methodist Women, and she's from Spencer. So, Gary.
That is one tough speech to follow, but I'll try to do my best. I have to admit, I was not interested in being a delegate to the annual conference. Does that, by the way, there's going to be a post-test after my comments, and the question you have to answer is there a 1% chance that you would be interested in being a delegate next year? And if there's a 1% chance, I want you to put your hand up. Okay. As she said, I could do this from home. I was in my recliner chair. The refrigerator is 15 feet away. I signed on to the conference. The technology was wonderful. It was extremely well organized. The administration of it was almost flawless. It was a love fest. It was kind of like, they talk about when couples fight and they make up afterwards. The makeup afterwards is really nice. Well, it was kind of that way to me at the conference. Everyone was on their best behavior. The theme of the conference was Inspire. It was just totally positive. I actually loved it. The speaker that I was impressed by the quality of each of the members that spoke there and the youthfulness of them. There were very few. I'm 78. I was in the minority at age. There were a lot of 20, 30, 40-year-old people participating. I was really interested in a former DS, Ron Carlson. Ron Carlson was a person that, I believe he was our district superintendent for a while. He has been in the role of trying to assign ministers, as I understand it. He kind of takes care of the ministerial portion. He was really bragging up about how the conference has brought in a number of ministers from outside the conference into Iowa. And likewise, they have a fairly large class. I think they call them new deacons, or I don't know what the right name is, but new people coming into the ministry. So the prospect is good for new ministers coming in. I was interested in his comments about the job he's moving into is in stewardship. He pointed out that in the past 10 years, the conference has cut their budget in half. It used to be in the neighborhood of $15 million a year. Now it's in the range of like $7 million a year. So they're able to operate pretty well in that budget. None of you probably know what part of our apportionments we give. Statewide, the average is about 66% of the apportionments. I just found out last week we're even below that. So I hope that we can invite Ron Carlson to come here. He's offered to come and preach to local churches.
October 20th.
October 20th. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think otherwise, I don't remember anything that was really controversial that was discussed at the meeting. I don't think there were any headlines that came out of the meeting. If you have questions about it, Cindy asked me to write up my comments. There are 17 of them here. You can look me up afterwards, but in the interest of time, I'll just stop right here. Okay, how many of you have a 1% interest in being a delegate next year? 1%. 0.5%. Come on. 0.25%. You guys are losers. It was worth your time. I enjoyed it. And the reason I enjoyed it, I should have said this at the front end. I feel an obligation to the conference. They brought in Pastor